Hi guys, keep it aside. Hope all of you are doing good and welcome all of you to this course on Equipedia, which I started around 3 to 4 years back, understanding the importance of learning uh, before you start with your investment journey. So I have always been a firm believer that equity is one of the best investment avenues when you think about parking your surplus funds and the biggest uh, roadblock which I feel for anyone doing equity investments is the fact that people have lack of knowledge. So I have always believed this, that if you have the maturity, then you will surely have patience, and if you have the patience, then there is no way uh, you cannot make returns in this market. But mostly what I have seen with my clients in my last 10 to 12 years of advisory experience is that people lack maturity. Markets गिरता है तो the kind of mindset which you need to have is what is lacking in most of the people. That is the biggest uh, uh, drawback when people are doing equity investments. ये सोच के ही we started with this course. First we launched Equipedia Core, and in the Equipedia Core course, uh, which I think most of my students for Pro would have already done that course. uh, this is where we teach you everything that can have an impact on the shares or the stock prices. So generally, I will always keep getting queries. आपका जो कोर्स है उसमें क्या टेक्निकल एनालिसिस कवर्ड है? That is the most asked question. I have been teaching a subject of finance for CA final students, and I have been doing it for now 12 years. And I have always told one thing, and I still maintain it even today after experiencing the markets for 12 years practically. Before that, also, I had some knowledge about the markets because I have always seen my father doing it or his friends and these people discussing about markets. So it's almost like from the time I have gained consciousness, I've seen people around me doing equity markets. And I've always told this, and I still maintain this, is that understanding agar nahi hai na markets ka, if you lack the basic understanding about the markets, there is no way you can make money in equity market. इक्विटी करने के लिए देर आर डिफरेंट वेज ऑफ डूइंग वैल्यूएशन ऑफ इक्विटी. आपको खरीदना है, बेचना है, किस लेवल पे खरीदना है, किस लेवल पे बेचना है. फॉर दैट सम पीपल विल यूज फंडामेंटल एनालिसिस and some people will use technical analysis. Well, mostly people use technical analysis because that is a reflection of the past price pattern, how shares have behaved at a given price in the past. Based on that, we are trying to predict the future. But if it was so simple, probably everybody would be making money in the market, क्योंकि तब तो सबको पता है ना किस दाम पे खरीदना और किस दाम पे बेचना है. But it's not so simple. Secondly, I would never agree on this कि कोई बंदा अगर एक ही तरीका फॉलो करता है, you just follow one particular pattern to decide whether you want to buy the shares of a particular company or not. You will, some cases you might make money, but some cases you will lose money. So till the time you don't have comprehensive understanding about what all factors can have an impact on equity markets, shares ka fundamentals kya hai, what parameters are important which you need to see before you plan to invest in a share, or even if you plan to trade in a share, it's very important that you have a comprehensive view and you evaluate your investment across different parameters. It cannot be, a certain manner which will always hold good. इसलिए इक्विपीडिया कोर जो कोर्स है उसमें हमने कोशिश किया है that we try to cover up as many possible aspects as required when you plan to buy equity shares. So, although I am into advisory services where I let people know what is to be bought, what is the target, what quantity to be bought, how to diversify, अलग अलग शेयर्स में कैसे पैसा लगाना है, सेक्टर्स वाइज कैसे पैसा को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है, everything is taught in Equipedia core. And we used to give some basic understanding of how futures and options work. But then there was a great demand, and a lot of students have, you know, posted me their concerns that they want to go in depth into the futures and options, because futures and options अपने आप में एक दुनिया है. तो आपको एक बात समझना है, I'll even if you are straight away registering for pro, which in some cases students are doing that because they believe that they know the basics of the market, so they just want to do the pro course rather than doing the core. But if you ask me honestly, I would suggest पहले core करिए, उसके बाद pro करिए. But if you're comfortable, if you're very confident कि नहीं आपको basics मालूम है पूरा market का, foreign exchange का क्या impact है, crude oil prices का क्या impact है, global policies का क्या impact है, absolute valuation कैसे किया जाता है, shares के fundamental analysis में क्या important parameters को देखा जाता है, if you know all this, then you can do the pro course. I'm not cross-selling my course, and people who know me, they know me very well that I have a zero tendency to sell off my courses or my advisory, because I honestly believe cricket and equity markets, everybody is a self-proclaimed champion. इसलिए I don't try to force it on people कि ये सीखो. Mostly, the kind of clients who come to me, they are the ones who have done equity by themselves. They experimented with their money, then they lost some of their savings, they burned their hands, and then they come to us. कि अभी तो सर बहुत पैसा खोया, अभी कोई expert advisory चाहिए तो आपके पास आए. That is what general tendency is. Now, another point which I want to make out is that you will theoretically, if you read about fundamental analysis and technical analysis, you will see theoretically fundamental analysis is required only for those people who want to do long-term investments, whereas technicals are good for short-term traders, जिसको short period के लिए खाली पैसे लगाने हैं and they want to make quick returns. But this again theoretically sounds good. See, a lot of things theoretically make sense, but when you come to market and you do real-time trading, a lot of things will not make sense. So I honestly believe this, and I have been practicing this for last 12 years, where I've seen fundamentals का अगर knowledge नहीं है तो technicals काम नहीं करेगा. This is what I honestly believe. You might differ from me, and I always believe it's not important for two people to agree on everything. We should learn to disagree also in equity, because that is the reason ना कोई 2200 में रिलायंस खरीदता है और कोई 2200 में रिलायंस बेच भी तो रहा है ना, which means there are two people with opposite mindset, where one is willing to buy a share because he is bullish on the share, and the other one is willing to sell the share because he is bearish on the share. जिसको खरीदना है उसको लग रहा है शेयर ऊपर जाएगा, जिसको बेचना उसको लग रहा है शेयर नीचे आएगा. So obviously people have to disagree on the valuations. That not only trading can happen in shares, transactions can happen. अगर सबको लगेगा कि नहीं ऊपर ही जाएगा तब तो बाय सर्किट लगेगा ना, बाइंग फ्रीज हो जाएगा शेयर, अपर सर्किट्स लगेंगे. अगर सबको लगेगा शेयर नीचे ही जाएगा तब तो डाउनवर्ड फ्रीज होगा शेयर, डाउन सर्किट्स लगेंगे. अंडरस्टूड? So it's not important for people to agree on everything, but this is my humble opinion that if you don't have sound knowledge about the fundamentals of equity, you will never be able to make a successful investment in equity. That's what I honestly believe. Okay, so right now when you see on the screen, we are doing the roadmap to the course, because roadmap is where what I want you to align your objectives with mine. First of all, based on my experience with Pro, if 10 people register for the course, there are only 2 people who take it seriously. 8 of them are just paying the fees to me. They are taking the classes, but they are not doing anything, which is something. Although I have gotten my fees, but I feel very very sad about it, very disappointed that people have registered for the course. They have somehow managed to pay my fees by either out of their savings, or out of their parents' money, and they're not making the best out of the course. And I can tell you one thing, guys. पिछले 4 साल में जिन्होंने भी कोर्स को सीरियसली किया है, I know so many of them who have started doing advisory either at professional level, or at least with their own investments they are very successful, or at least for their family they started managing the money. So take the courses seriously. The core and pro together will give you a very, very good understanding about how equity markets work, and it will be very, very helpful for you. So we will have a total of 10 to 11 different uh, study sessions in this. I like calling it as study sessions, and I'll try to cover almost everything that is required in respect of futures and options. अभी futures and options के लिए भी ना, if you go to some seniors of yours, or if you speak to your father, if he has been an active participant in the market, FNO के नाम से सबको एलर्जी है. पीपल से नहीं, FNO नहीं करना है. तो हो सकता है कि किसी ने FNO किया है आपकी फैमिली में, and that person would have lost a fortune in FNO, and that is the reason they hate it. Otherwise, raw language में if I say, a lot of people say नहीं 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 FNO नहीं करना है, वो फाटका है, वो जुआ है, हमें जुआ नहीं खेलना है. That's how people say. But is it actually jua? The answer is no, it's not jua. It is not. Jua means in English gambling. It's not gambling. When you know how to use FNO as an instrument to assist you with your cash market portfolio, you will end up doing very well. In fact, it is a kind of insurance for you. In fact, it is a kind of tool which will help you with your investments in equity markets. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that there will be 10 to 11 study sessions. Wherever possible, I will give you some assignments. Do those assignments, share your solutions with me on WhatsApp. Most of you have my WhatsApp number. Share it on WhatsApp with me, and let me go through your assignments and give you a feedback based on that. Okay? Because I will not be giving answers to you. One-to-one करना पड़ेगा ये चीज. I can't give you answers on this screen, because if I do that, then you won't apply your own grades. And this course is just 10%. 90% is how you applicate this knowledge. 90% is how you implement this knowledge, and how you do more and more reading on it based on what I have taught you. If you do that along with the course, I assure you, at least in equity markets, nobody can come and give you a gyan which you are not aware about. I assure you about it. The second thing is, all these classes which are given to you, there will be no separate PDF notes या कोई booklet बोल के नहीं मिलेगा. These notes that I am sharing with you, whatever is important, I will be writing it down here. I will be going slow with my recordings, so that during listening to the classes, if you want, you can take down the notes. Otherwise, इस स्क्रीन में सब कुछ लिखा रहेगा. ठीक है, तो आपको वहां से देख देख के पढ़ना है. And if you want, I suggest this, that you take down the notes for whatever important I am telling you. And there will be limited views for all the classes. We will give you around 1.5 times the views, which means अगर एक क्लास 1 घंटे का है, तो आप उसको 1.5 घंटे टोटल देख सकते हो. आप 1.5 घंटे में कुछ अगर इम्पोर्टेंट है उसको रिवाइंड करके वापस सुन सकते हो. Which means if you have a 60 minutes class, you can watch it for 90 minutes in total. These things are done for security reasons. And if it's a class of 30 minutes, you will get 45 minutes time. It's like that. So when you listen to the class, listen to it properly. Don't just do a bird's eye view. फटाफट देख लिया, फिर रियलाइज हो कि नहीं अच्छे से नहीं देखा, फिर वापस देखना चाहोगे नई क्लास मिलेगा. बिकॉज दैट इज सिस्टम एनक्रिप्शन. आई वोंट बी एबल टू हेल्प इन दैट केस. आपको क्लास को सुनने के लिए 50% टाइम बफर दिया जाएगा. अगर 20 मिनट का क्लास है तो 10 मिनट आपको एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा. उसमें आप रिवाइंड करके 10 मिनट का कंटेंट वापस देख सकते हो. Otherwise, as I told you, I will be going slow, and whatever is important, I will be jotting it down over here. बाकी कंटेंट का कुछ नहीं है. कंटेंट आपको जो जो थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज है वो तो आपको गूगल पे बहुत सारी मिल जाएगी ना. उसके अलावा जितना भी आपको जो भी चीज जानने का जरूरत है वो सारा यहाँ डिस्कस किया जाएगा. ओके ओके. सो the roadmap part I think is clear to us. Now we are moving to our first study session, which is basics of investing and trading. That is the first topic. Why we do FN? If you ask me why we do FN, first of all, it's very important for us to understand कि हम मार्केट में करते क्या हैं. Just I know most of you are already aware about it. But as I told you now, we have to align our understanding. We have to align our interest first of all. We should know each other that what we are planning to talk about in the future classes. इसलिए basic मेरे को समझाना जरूरी है. Then SEBI rules and regulations, अभी क्या market में चल रहा है, you know, किस तरीके से आप शेयर्स के अगेंस्ट में मार्जिन ले सकते हैं, वो सब चीज़ समझाना जरूरी है. एंड टू गिव अ बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट कि अगर किसी ने मेरे से कोर का स्टडी मटेरियल्स नहीं लिया है, देन इन दैट केस प्रो कोर्स का इंट्रोडक्शन में वी डोंट वांट टू you know in a haste start with FNO. I'll first give you a basic understanding of what we do when we are investing or we are trading. In my core study material, I have already covered how investors are different from traders, but in this course, let me give you a basic understanding. As I told you, you might call yourself an investor. पहले theoretical definition बता देता हूँ. चलो, theoretical definition is when people want to invest in shares of the company and keep it for long, they would theoretically be called as investors. उसको रोज रोज के volatility से, daily fluctuations से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. The person is more interested in keeping the share for long period of time. Now people ask me, sir, long period का मतलब क्या है? There is nothing defined. What is long period? There are people who I know have been holding on to HDFC Bank for now 25 years. And there are people who have been holding on to Infosys or Reliance for 20 plus years. But somebody else who has been holding it for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years also will still be called as a long-term investor. From taxation perspective, if you ask me, then a long-term investor is somebody who is keeping the shares for more than 12 months. If you hold shares for more than 12 months, you are called a long-term investor. आपका long-term capital gains लगता है. That is a theoretical definition. अभी let's say a person buys Reliance at 2000. Correct? Please understand. Person buys Reliance for 2000 and he has a strong conviction कि वो 2500 जाएगा. Reliance का justified value as per this person, let's say this is Mr. X, is 2500, which means he wants to buy the share at 2000 and he feels the share will go up to 2500. Let's say for next couple of years Reliance does not perform well and only after 4 years, Reliance trades at 2500, which means after 4 years when it becomes 2500, most probably this guy will sell off Reliance and book his profit. अब इसने कितने दिन शेयर रखा? 4 साल रखा सर. Would you call him an investor? Obviously yes. But let's say कि ये Reliance का एक क्वार्टर का रिजल्ट अच्छा आया and in 2 days share went up from 2000 to 2500. First of all, is it possible? Answer is yes, it's possible. अगर 2 दिन में ऊपर चला गया तो 2 दिन में ये बंदा शेयर बेच के निकल जाएगा. He will sell off his share in 2 days itself. Would you then call him an investor or a trader? Are you understanding what I am saying? So first of all ना आप एक बात समझिए, इक्विटी मार्केट में थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज लेके आना इज गुड, बट टू प्रिज्यूम कि सब कुछ थियोरेटिकली ही यहाँ पे वर्कआउट करेगा इज फुलिशनेस. इट्स नेवर लाइक दैट. योर थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज इज ओके बट प्रैक्टिकली थिंग्स आर वेरी डिफरेंट. सो व्हेन पीपल आस्क मी व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट, इज इट टाइम बेस्ड कि 10 साल नहीं बेचूंगा? जनरली आई डोंट endorse that. For me, long-term investment is when I buy a share where I see 10, 20, 30, 40% upside movement possible, एंड आई एम वेरी श्योर कि जब तक वो 20, 30, 40% अपसाइड मिलेगा, तब तक आई विल होल्ड ऑन टू द शेयर. टिल द टाइम आई डोंट गेट दैट 30, 40%, आई विल होल्ड ऑन टू द शेयर. That is long term investment for me. Now, if I'm lucky, then I might get that target in a smaller period of time also. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying, guys. So, when you say you are an investor, I would suggest don't define your investment horizon based on time. Rather, define it based on target which you have in mind. Now, obviously, when somebody buys a share at 2000 and he wants to make an exit at 2050, which is just he's playing for 3 or 4% or 5% upside, those cases we would technically like to call that person a trader, because 3-4% of volatility is very normal in a short span of time. You get my point what I'm saying? So investor है कि trader है, that is more so defined by what objective you have in buying the share, rather than defining it by the time of your holding. But if you want to go strictly by time of your holding, then as I told you, as per Income Tax Act, greater than 12 months of holding is long term capital gain, classified as long term capital gain. Anything less than 12 months is short term. 12 months से कम मतलब 11 महीने 20 दिन भी अगर शेयर रखोगे तब भी शॉर्ट टर्म होगा, और एक दिन रखोगे तब भी शॉर्ट टर्म होगा, एक घंटे रखोगे तब भी शॉर्ट टर्म होगा. अंडरस्टूड? Now understand one thing. When Mr. X buys Reliance at 2000 with a clear cut understanding, if it goes to 1980, then he will let his stop loss happen. SL means stop loss. He will allow his stop loss to trigger, and this is his target. Which means if he buys the share at 2000 with a clear cut understanding, अगर ऊपर 2050 जाएगा वो बेच के अपना प्रॉफिट बुक करेगा. अगर वो नीचे आता है 1980 1980, then he will let his stop loss trigger, he will exit the share. This is a typical example of a trader, where a trader is very clear. He has an upside target, he has a downside exit plan also. He will buy a share at 2000, 1980, stop loss triggered, he will exit it. He doesn't care to hold on to the share. उसको फंडामेंटल से कोई मतलब नहीं. These are generally the kind of people जो टेक्निकल एनालिसिस करके बैठते हैं. उनको पता ऊपर जाएगा तो इतना जाएगा, नीचे जाएगा इतना जाएगा. This is the point where I will make an exit. Whether in profit or in loss does not matter. I don't care if Reliance has very good corporate governance. I don't care if Reliance has very good management. I don't care if Reliance has very good dividend history. I don't care if Reliance has been giving very good numbers in last many quarters. I don't care if Reliance has a very promising business model. I don't care if Reliance has very good product offering. I don't care if they have a diversified business model. All I care is the price. This is technical analysis. आपको शेयर से कोई इमोशनल अटैचमेंट नहीं है. आप उसके अंदर इन डेप्थ जाके पढ़ते नहीं है उसके बारे में. आप चार्ट्स को पढ़ते हो और चार्ट्स के हिसाब से आपने डिसाइड किया 1980 is my exit point, 2050 is my profit booking point. As simple as that. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So when somebody comes to me and tells me कि आप बताइए आपके हिसाब से ये बंदा investor है कि trader है, if you ask me that this person, you now tell whether this person is an investor or trader, I would probably like to speak to that person to understand his nature of trading, how he plans to do the trading. Based on that I will decide whether he is an investor or trader. No book can give you a definition कि ये बंदा investor है ये trader है. Theoretical definition is there, but market everybody behaves very different. From that 9 o'clock to 3:30 Monday to Friday, everybody behaves very different. Understood? Okay. Now the question is FNO required only for people who are doing trading? If yes, then this course is not useful for me because I am an investor, sir. Wrong understanding. Even if you are an investor, there are classical ways of using futures and options. Classical ways. When you learn them, then you understand how powerful FNO can be. Very, very useful. It's beautiful. When I teach you how, suppose today you have put 1 crore in the market. You are an investor. You have invested 1 crore in the market. When you buy a car, which is just worth 6 or 7 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 8 lakhs, Are you required to take insurance on that car? Is it compulsory? Yes. जब 7 या 8 लाख की गाड़ी के लिए आपको इंश्योरेंस लेना जरूरी है, then what about this 1 crore of investment? This 1 crore of investment does not require an insurance. The only way to get insurance for this 1 CR of investment or 50 lakhs of investment or 2 crores of investment is by trading in financial instruments which are called as futures and options. You will have to take help of futures and options. Now, I don't understand why people hate or detest the futures and options so much. क्योंकि उन्होंने लॉस किया, और लॉस क्यों किया, that we need to understand. Why did they make loss in the first place? Probably because they did not know how to use these instruments. इसलिए this course is required for you to first learn how to use the insurance. If you don't know how to use the insurance, probably you will misuse it. If you misuse it, then yes, then it will cost you. Then it will cost you. Then it will leave a dent on your portfolio. इसलिए नॉलेज के साथ हमें करना है. आपको स्पेक्यूलेशन करना है, इन्वेस्टमेंट करना है, हेजिंग करना है, सब कुछ करने के लिए नॉलेज होना चाहिए. इवन फॉर स्पेक्यूलेशन यू हैव टू हैव नॉलेज अबाउट दीज इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, एंड all these things I will be teaching you. First, we are trying to create a platform. Why we are doing that? See, when you know the why and how, then understanding things will not be difficult. अभी स्ट्रेट अवे मैं बोलूँ, सुनो फ्यूचर्स में ऐसा होता है, ऑप्शंस में ऐसा होता है, इसको ऐसे यूज करते हैं, इसको ऐसे यूज करते हैं. नो, फर्स्ट वी नीड टू नो व्हाई डिड वी हैव द नीड ऑफ हैविंग derivatives in the first place. If you understand that part, using these derivative instruments will become very, very easy for you. Understood? Now, let's say we have Mr. Ram. एक सिंपल एग्जाम्पल लेके पहले बातों को समझने का कोशिश करते हैं. फर्स्ट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ स्मॉल एग्जाम्पल्स, सिंपल थिंग्स. फर्स्ट कपल ऑफ क्लासेस यू माइट फील oh it's so easy यार, कहीं कोर्स करके गलती तो नहीं कर दिया. We will make it advanced with passage of time. First you understand easy things. Easy things का brush up करने में, revision करने में there is no harm. You revise it first. Let us first come to a basic understanding that we both know the common things. We both know from where we are coming. Abhi there is somebody from science background who does not know anything about equity, and he plans to do the course. First he needs to know what is the basics. Understood? So let's say Mr. Ram is a person who is willing to invest his money in equity markets. How do you do that? First thing is that you open a demat account. Now he opens a demat account, let's say with angel broking. There are a lot of brokerage houses where you can open a demat account. Nowadays this zero brokerage concept has come, and Upstocks, Grow or Zerodha, these are the companies which have become very popular. Apart from that, there are some orthodox companies like Angel Broking, Motilal Oswal, ICICI Securities, Kotak Mahindra. There are many companies which are offering you demat services. You open a demat account. Let's say you open a demat account with Angel Broking, and this almost works like a bank account for you. जब आप एंजल ब्रोकिंग में अपना अकाउंट खोलोगे, the first thing that you got to do is you need to give your Aadhaar card. Nothing happens now without Aadhaar card. You give your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, and check, and you need to fill certain forms. Nowadays, post-COVID, everything has become online. You do these things, and then you open a demat account. Less than 24 hours nowadays, demat account can open. Once you open your demat account, you need to link one of your bank accounts with this demat account. So let's say you link your HDFC bank account with Angel Broking, and then from your HDFC bank account you make a transfer to this Angel Broking, and Angel Broking, in the funds section, it will show the money which you are having. Now this money, once it starts reflecting in your demat account, and assuming that your services have been activated, now you can use this money to buy stocks. What is the simplest way a person can use this money? What is the simplest way? The simplest way to use this money is, let's say tomorrow is Monday, markets open tomorrow morning, and tomorrow morning you want to put this money, allocate this money in shares. How do you do that? You simply go to your angel broking app, mobile application nowadays are very user friendly. You go to your mobile application, you go to the watch list over there. In the watch list, you type the name of the share. Let's say we try for Infosys. Let's say Infosys is trading at 1500. So you plan to buy 100 shares of it. So total investment is 1,50,000, which means 1,50,000 of your money you have invested in Infosys. So this is from your IT sector, correct? No, this is from IT sector. I have done 1,50,000 of investment. Obviously, when you do this, your 10 lakhs will become 8,50,000. Your fund balances will come down, but then in your demat account, it will start reflecting that you have 1,50,000 worth of Infosys. It's just plus and minus kind of thing happens. Shares खरीदोगे, shares account में आ जाएगा demat में. It generally happens in T+1 day basis. It will start showing in your demat account. You will have a reduction in your fund balance, and the shares will start reflecting. Abhi, let's say after this I plan to buy something from pharma sector, and I plan to buy Dr. Reddy 50 shares at the rate of 4,000 rupees, which means I put another 2 lakhs over here, which means now I have 2 shares in my demat account. One is Infosys, one is Dr. Reddy, and my fund balance from 8,50,000 will become 6,50,000. Correct? No, this part we understand, right? Like this, let's say this person, Mr. Ram, he did a purchase of 5 different shares in total. Let's just assume these are the shares in which he has invested. Infosys from IT sector, Dr. Reddy's from pharma sector, Ultratech from cement sector, and let's say he picked up ITC from FMCG, and let's say he picked up ICICI Bank from banking sector. Well diversified portfolio. Listen to everything that I say very, very carefully, because even when I'm giving you examples, I'll try to give you logical examples so that even through my examples you're able to learn something. If you come to me and tell me, sir, I have 10 lakhs of investments, and you know the kind of shares I purchased Infosys, I purchased TCS, I have purchased Wipro, I have purchased L&T Tech Services, I have purchased Emphasis. Is this a good portfolio? If you go by the name of the shares, yes, it's a very good portfolio. But is this indeed a good portfolio? The answer is no, it's not at all a good portfolio. You have messed up with your portfolio. So why do you say that? Because boss, you have purchased everything from IT sector. It's not a diversified portfolio, and any portfolio which is not diversified is not good portfolio, because you are playing with the extreme numbers. Tomorrow some bad news comes for the IT sector. Let's say some global policy comes, because most of the IT sector companies in India, they are doing business either in Europe or they are doing it in US. Most of their revenues are coming from these countries. If tomorrow some global policy comes which is adverse for these companies, then in that case these all shares will get hit. But Mr. Ram has created a very well diversified portfolio, which is he has invested his money in Infosys, IT, Reddy, Pharma, Ultratech, cement sector, ITC, FMCG, ICICI Bank, banking and financial services. Well diversified portfolio. Tomorrow monetary policy happens, bad news comes like a hike in repo rate. Chances are ICICI Bank share might go down a bit, but it should not impact the other stocks that much. Let's say government has capped the prices of cement. They have set limits on how much cement companies can charge for every ton or every quintal, or they have imposed certain restrictions on export of cement. It might impact Ultratech, it will not impact the other stocks. Let's say some raid has happened in the production unit of Dr. Reddy, and they found some adverse observations. It will have an impact on Dr. Reddy, but it will not impact the other stocks. GST on cigarettes have been increased. It will have an impact on ITC, but it will not impact the other stocks. You want a well diversified portfolio. Ek investor ya trader, well, whatever you do, this is what you see on the screen right now is the simplest way of trading in equity. But who wants simple things in life? What is this simple thing? Simple thing is, I have money in my demat account. I have funds lying in my angel broking demat account. I utilize these funds to buy shares, and based on the amount of money you have invested in these shares, it will keep impacting your fund balances. So 9,50,000 invested, funds will show as 50,000. Tomorrow, let's say you sold off 1,50,000 worth of Infosys. Infosys will move out of your demat account because you have sold your shares. That much money will be added to your funds balance. If it's in profit, then obviously more than 1,50,000 will be added. If it's in loss, then your overall capital will reduce by that much. So this is the simplest thing a person can do. Now what happened? Recently, SEBI introduced certain rules for creating margin. Earlier, you know what used to happen? A broker against your holding of shares will give you some margin to play in the market. But there is no point now going how that margin was created, because that, in short, if I have to say, probably based on the kind of holdings you have in your account, they used to calculate how much margin they can give, and it was more like, it was more like a customized process where the brokerage house, based on your credit worthiness, they will decide how much margin they can give you for trading. Now they have standardized the product. How they have standardized is, when you have shares in your demat account on T+1 days basis or T+2 days basis, when you become the owner of the share, then on your angel broking app, there is a feature where you can create a pledge of your shares. When you create a pledge of your shares, against creating that pledge, you will get margins to play. Now we are going into certain complications, because I told you there are people in this market who have demat account, they have funds, they know how much money they have put in their demat account. Based on that money, they will do trading in equity, trading, investment, whatever it is. मैंने 5 शेयर खरीद के रखा, अभी जब तक ये 5 शेयर्स में से मेरा पैसा नहीं निकलेगा, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू टेक आउट माई मनी. I have certain targets in mind. Once my targets are done or my stop losses are done, then only I will have my money free, and then only I can think of buying a 6th share. This is the simplest approach of equity. इनको मार्जिन से, प्लेजिंग से, फ्यूचर्स ऑप्शन से कोई मतलब नहीं है. The simplest category of people I am telling. But then there is a second category of people who say, I have put 10 lakhs in equity, but let me enjoy some leverage benefits in the market. Or how do I enjoy leverage benefits? Now, for enjoying that leverage, you will have to pledge your shares. So I create a pledge on my shares. It's just like, you think of it like this: you buy some gold and you wear that gold, and at the same time you buy some gold which you have taken to keep in the wardrobe, almirah mein usko rakh ke rakha hai. Now suddenly you are in requirement of money. What will you do? You will go to a company like Muthoot Finance. You will go and give your gold over there, and against that take a loan. Right? This is normal practice. The same thing can be done in equity. Your equity shares are an asset for you. So what you can do is, you can create a pledge against those shares. You can go to Angel Broking app, search over there. There is a pledging option. It's a simple OTP authentication process. Once you pledge your shares, then margin will be given to you. The moment you create a pledge, yes, there are some nominal charges. And when you take margin, again, margin is given for few days, and margin money which you are utilizing, that all things can be seen in the app. On that margin money, whatever you are using, some interest has to be paid. Every brokerage house is very transparent about their policies. If you go to their respective websites, you can find out how much you have to pay as interest on margin. But then people believe this ki, if you think of it like a business, I have put money in equity, I have put my equity in the business, now I want somebody else to participate, which means 50-50. Let's say equity and debt participation is 50-50. मतलब मैंने अपना 1 करोड़ मार्केट बिजनेस में लगाया, अभी 1 करोड़ का मैंने डेट लिया. So total business money is how much? 2 crores. But how much is my own money? Only 1 crore. So same thing happens in equity. I have 10 lakhs worth of money, but first I purchase these shares, then I pledge my shares. I create a margin, then I use that margin to trade in shares, knowing clearly that whatever margin money I am utilizing is subject to some interest, and that interest is not small. That interest can range anywhere between 18% per annum to 24% per annum. Generally, brokerage houses will charge you anything between these two, 18% to 24% per annum. Monthly, they will look like very meager figures because they will write 1.5%, and you see so happy. You start feeling so happy about it. Oh, only 1.5%, but you don't read it properly. It's 1.5% per month. So 1.5% per month transforms into 18%, or 2% per month transforms into 24% per annum. But you want to take margin benefits because you want to. Suddenly, what happens? I'll explain you the mindset. Why do you do that? Let's say suddenly, so these are the shares in which you have invested. Now suddenly you feel कि नहीं, one fine day results of Reliance have been declared and results have not been as per market estimates. So Reliance has drastically fallen. Now suddenly you want to trade in Reliance, but you don't have money in your bank account. Then how do you take a trade? This is an opportunity being created which you feel is there in the market for a short span of time. So what do? You immediately pledge Infosys. Your in a brokerage house like Angel Broking, within 15 minutes pledging will happen. A credit of margin will be given. Using that margin, you can take shares of Reliance because you believe that I will buy now and within no time I will sell. So I want to enjoy that one-time correction which has happened in the Reliance. I want to enjoy that, but not by utilizing my money, but by creating a pledge on my shares which are there in my demat account, and using that money I will trade in shares of Reliance. I hope this part is clear, guys. So this is the basic part which I have made you understand. Generally, in my experience, I've seen people who are so rigid with their policies that they will not even take pledge. They say, no, I don't want to take pledge. I will only invest my own money. So this guy is a clear-cut example of an investor. And then there is another guy who says, I want to invest, but against my investments, I want to use some money just to do some trading. So it's not investor. If you are an investor, you cannot be a trader, or if you are a trader, you cannot be an investor. No, most people are a mix of both, and in different circumstances, they might behave like investors or they might behave like traders. It's not something which is rigidly defined that a person will only be an investor or only be a trader. There are times when I see an opportunity, I want to trade. There are times when I see a very good opportunity of buying something, then I want to invest in the shares of the company where I see long-term perspective. I hope this part is clear to you. So this is the basics of investing and trading, where you just have to open a demat account, link your bank account to your demat, transfer funds, and then start doing your trading. As per SEBI new rules, brokers cannot decide how much margin they want to give. For every stock, there is a standard margin that can be created, but that can only be done by pledging your shares. So you got to pledge your shares, then create margin, but that margin does not come for free, and on that margin money, you will have to pay interest. One more thing, very important thing, listen carefully. This is very important part, guys. How much money I have put? 10 lakhs. Let's say against 10 lakhs, I have got 7 lakhs of margin. This 7 lakhs I have put in 3 different stocks, A, B, C. The focus is on understanding the mechanism, so I am not taking the name of the shares. Let's say this 7 lakhs I have created a pledge on all my shares. I got a margin of 7 lakhs by the broker as per pledging rules. This is the maximum margin I got. I immediately invested this money in stocks A, B and C. On this margin money which I am utilizing, I am fine paying interest. Okay. Now, if you remember the first example, how much was invested? 9,50,000. How much was the total funds? 10 lakhs. What is the idle money in your account? 50,000. And then your demat will show that there is margin money being utilized by you, based on which they will charge interest. Suppose when you have taken the 7 lakhs worth of shares, suddenly there is a correction in the market and market has corrected by, let's say, 15%. So assuming that your 7 lakhs portfolio is also corrected by 15%, which means, let's say on this 7 lakhs of investment, there is a loss of 1 lakh. Are these your owned shares? Owned. Answer is no. What are your owned shares? These are my owned shares. These are my owned shares. Owned. Are you the owner of these shares? I am the owner of these shares. These shares, even if go down to zero value, nobody can ask me for money because I paid money for these shares. Correct? No. Are these shares A, B, C owned by me? No. I have taken them on margin. You can't take this as a delivery base. Now, no, the brokers have started giving you options. How do you want to take a share? Intraday. Intraday means today itself they will square off. Before market closes, they will automatically square off your positions. In like in zero, they write it as MIS. MIS means it's a trade which will be settled in a day. Profit ho, loss ho, they will square off your position. That is one option. Intraday. Second is delivery. Delivery shares you cannot take. Delivery के लिए पैसा देना पड़ेगा sir. And third is margin category. Margin category you purchased ABC. When ABC will start falling, then there is a problem which can happen. What is that problem? This some people try to overlook. Only when they suffer huge losses because of market corrections, deep market corrections, is when they realize they made a mistake, they made a blunder. अभी इसमें क्या होगा? 1 lakh rupees fall has happened, which means you owe this 1 lakh to your broker. How much was surplus money lying in your account? 50,000. Because I purchased shares of 9,50,000. 50,000 was lying idle. How much is the loss on these margin based shares? 1 lakh. How much minus are you? 50,000. Even if you adjust your surplus cash balance, how much margin is there? 50,000. This 50,000 which is due, now this will be like a ticking time bomb. This 50,000 you owe to your broker, for which maximum brokers give you T plus 5 days time. From the day this 50,000 becomes due, you will be required to pay this 50,000 to your broker. There is no if and but in this. You can't say, I won't pay 50,000, charge me interest on that. No, if you don't pay 50,000 in next 5 days, 5 working days, that much worth of shares will be sold off in your account. And which shares? Not the margin shares. They will directly sell your shares from your holding. But sir, what if my shares in the holding are also in loss? Then that loss is yours, boss. They can't help it. So what is the alternative? Alternative is next 5 days you will start getting mails and messages that 50,000 you have to pay. Your dues are aging. T plus 1, T plus 2, T plus 3. If you pay before 5 days, then it's okay. They won't sell off your shares. Okay, sir, then I will do one thing. I will pay 50,000. It's a small amount for me. Okay, then you pay. You pay 50,000. Let's say second or third day, again market falls. This 1 lakh loss becomes 2 lakh loss. But sir, why are you talking so negative? Yeah, boss, in markets you have to learn to talk negative. If you are prepared for negative, you will enjoy your positives. The problem is this, we only think about positives. When you bought these shares worth 7 lakh on margin, what were you thinking? This 7 lakh will become 8 lakh. I will sell off my shares, 1 lakh profit, maybe 2000 or 1800 something is my interest. I will pay interest. Rest is my profit on a money which I never paid from my bank account. I created it as a margin from my demat holding. That's a positive thing you thought, no, before you took this trade. If you would have thought this beforehand, that if I take 7 lakhs of margin and utilize this 7 lakhs of margin, and if there is a 20% loss on that margin money trades, then I will be required to pay that, or else my shares from the demat will be sold to that extent. Are you understanding what I am saying? So it's very important to understand that this pledging and margin thing looks very lucrative, but you have to understand the downside of it. Yeah, if I have 7 lakhs of margin rationally, don't do this in my own practical experience? I do it. It's not that I don't do it. And this pledging is very important, guys. You have to keep a track of this, because in FNO also, no, this will be useful. So please keep a note of it. Everything that I say is very important for your upcoming lectures. Understood? So this 7 lakhs of margin being created is not bad. But if you are a rational guy, probably out of the 7 lakhs you would have only utilized 2 or 3 lakhs of margin. That is like normalizing the risk. That is like taking limited risk. When you utilize the entire 7 lakhs, it means you are very aggressive. And when you show a lot of aggression, there are two things which can happen. Returns are very high, but at the same time you're running very high risk also. And when you run the risk, then these kind of things like liquidating your shares, or paying the money within 5 days time, all these things are very normal. These things will happen. So I hope the basic part is clear. You have understood how we are going to do this course. You have understood the basics of investing and trading. And now I'll call off the class, and in next class we will start with our next topic of discussion, which is going to be a very important class. The next two classes are very important, where we will set a base and you understand what are futures and what are options. A basic understanding was already given in the core course, but I will still have to give it for those people who have straight away registered for pro course. We will understand how futures and options work. Only one thing before we call off this class is to understand futures and options are, we refer to them as derivatives. Now, what do you mean by derivatives? If you break down the term derivatives, the first word of this is derive. So derivatives are those instruments which derive their value, which means if I'm talking about FNO, futures and options, this is how we call it in equity markets. We refer to it as FNO, futures and options. So these FNO instruments are basically derivatives, which means they derive their value, and they derive their value from the delivery based market. That is, when I say delivery based market, I am referring to it as cash market. These futures and options, no, they don't have their own existence. They derive their existence from cash market. So if you want, you can independently trade in derivatives, but then the very existence of derivatives have come from cash market. I hope you understood what I'm saying. So it is from cash market, these shares which we purchase, no, these are cash market. One simple, sir, can you tell me what is cash market delivery based trading? Delivery based means when you buy shares on delivery, you are required to pay 100% money and take ownership. You take ownership by paying 100% money. If I want to buy this phone, I go to Apple showroom and buy this phone. The price of this phone is, let's say, 1 lakh rupees. You got to pay 1 lakh. Then only they will generate a bill in your name. Then only they will give you a bill that you have become the owner of this phone now. So delivery based trading is where you are interested in taking ownership, and for taking ownership you have to pay 100% money. I purchased 1500 worth of Infosys, total 100 quantity. What is the total cost of ownership? 1,50,000. Sir, if you pay 1,50,000, you become owner of 100 shares. That is delivery based trading. I take delivery. I go to a shop, I buy an iPhone, I take delivery of that phone. But when will the person give me delivery? Only when I pay 100% money to that person. But in case of FNO, the value is derived from the delivery based shares. They don't have their own value, they derive their value. And is ownership important in case of FNO? The answer is no. We are not interested in ownership. So when I'm not even interested in ownership, I won't have to pay 100%, no. Just understand the link. I'll discuss more in details in my next class. But if I'm not interested to take ownership, FNO, you are never interested to take ownership. And जब आपको ownership नहीं चाहिए, तो क्या उसके लिए 100% पे करना पड़ेगा? The answer is no. Might have to pay 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. It's something regulated by exchange. There are exchange rules and regulations which decides how much you have to pay for FNO. पर 100% नहीं पे करना पड़ेगा, ये sure है most cases में. Because the reason is you are not taking ownership. You are not even interested to take ownership. जिसको ownership चाहिए ना, वो delivery based trading करता है. पैसा देता है, माल उठाता है, रखता है. Once you become owner of these shares, how long can you keep these shares with you? Till the time you want to. But for FNO, are you taking delivery? Answer is no. Are you paying 100%? Answer is no. And can you keep FNO for lifetime? Answer is no. इसके लिए आपने 100% पैसा ही नहीं दिया, वो आप लाइफ टाइम कैसे रख सकते हो? You can't keep it. I hope this video was useful. If you have any doubts, you're not going to hold back. You're going to drop me a message, and immediately I'll try to answer you based on whenever I get time. And this is your basic video. This is the foundation. From here on, we are going to now build our concepts in derivatives. When I say derivatives, I'm talking about primarily futures and options. Our next class will be in-depth analysis of futures, and and after that we will take one in-depth class on options, one or maybe two classes, because options is little tricky to understand, but once you understand, then it's an easy ball game. Don't worry about it. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed the lectures. Stay good, stay safe. God bless all of you. Thank you.